Somebody low rides the. Oh,
Test.
right here in front of me.
Test.
Yeah.
Test. Test.
Testing.
I'm testing. We're testing the sound. Mm-hmm. It's fabulous. Yeah, had a great time. Great time. Is what? No, did good. It was yeah, it was fabulous.
Do it again.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I want to go to the southern part though, because we were in Rome and then up. So Rome, Perugia, Florence, Venice, Milan, Bellagio. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Busy, you know. I did a ride along last night. said, yeah, he got over that, and he says, but it's nice because.
Test. Oh.
Sentence.
But it went, needs padding.
Gotta be driving around looking at stuff. It was great.
Don't touch it. Don't speak too loudly.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway,
Thank
it was
you.
interesting.
But I think
Okay, I'm going to call our meeting to order. If you would stand with me to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Rawlings will do the invocation.
God, we come to you tonight. Be with this council as we conduct city's business. Thank you for those who are here as you have from your safety, Lord, that you watch over us all. In our lives. Thank you for the many blessings bestowed upon each and every one of us as we go through our lives. Lord, we thank you for the privilege
Amen.
Thank you.
He's going to speak, and he asked that we have
Roll call.
his card. Councilmember Colleton is absent. Vice Mayor Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Lauder.
Here.
Councilmember Rawlings. And Mayor Boland.
Here. Okay, deferred items from previous meeting, we have none. We have consent calendar. Questions, thoughts, motions,
Cards.
cards? Any cards on that?
No cards on consent.
I move approval of the consent.
Motion by Jones, seconded by Rawlings to approve all consent items as presented. And the roll call vote, Vice Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Lauder.
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings.
Aye.
And Mayor Boland.
Aye. Okay, we have no public hearing today. Public communications, this is time for anyone who'd like to come up and address anything that's not on the agenda for tonight. You may come to the podium, state your name. You have 3 minutes to give us your talk on what you'd like to speak to us about. So that'd be this time right now. Is there any cards for this?
I have one card from Preston Dickinson.
That would be you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Preston Dickinson. I live in Chico, California. And I have met, I think, 3 of you. I've met Woody and I work with AT&T. I did work for about 36 years and retired in 2007. I worked, during my time with AT&T, I worked extensively with the town of Paradise and installed phone systems for you folks and network and that kind of a thing. Towards the end of my career with AT&T, I was moved over to external affairs, and I did which is kind of a fancy name for unofficial public affairs. I don't talk to media, I talk to you folks. And I talk to any leadership in the community. It can be nonprofits, it can be It can be local government or county government, city government. And my role is really to address any issues that involve AT&T that are not resolved through the normal channels. I'm not a salesman, I'm not a construction guy, I'm not an engineering guy. The last thing I did here was work with a wireless tower that was put out on the Skyway, and I think it's added and filled a significant gap in coverage. And since then, I haven't done a thing. So I look forward to serving you only when you need me. If something can't get resolved and you get frustrated, there's no reason to. I've given Joanna my cards, and I think she's handed them out. So call me, email me if there are issues that involve AT&T that are not getting fixed and just continue to plague you. Any questions for me?
Questions?
Okay, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Preston? Appreciate it. Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to talk to any issue other than what's on the calendar or on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. Council consideration 7A, consider the recommendations of the interviewing panel to appoint Ray Grooms and Anita Tosley, I believe it is, to serve 4-year terms of the Office of the Planning Commission.
Yes, as you know, we've advertised for the 2 upcoming vacant positions on the Planning Commission. Our interview committee met and interviewed 5 of the 6 applicants and made the recommendation to appoint Ray Groom and Anita Towsley to the Planning Commission effective July 1st, 2 4-year terms. And the committee did share with me it was difficult. All the candidates were great, but these 2 came out top on both of the score sheets. So did either of you have anything to add to?
Councilmember Rollins and I did the interviews. We asked 11 different questions, some of them about the Planning Commission to get an idea for what they knew about it, some of them just about their philosophy, how they saw Paradise, what they want, why they wanted to be on the Planning Commission. We scored them independently, and these 2 came out on top for both of us. Ray Groom used to be the Director of General Services in Yolo County, so he knows a lot about the whole process and what a Planning Commission is supposed to do. And Anita Towsley was a city finance director for some little towns near Fresno. And they're both retired now. I think they'll be excellent additions to our Planning Commission.
Both of the applicants were, well, all of the applicants are well qualified, so it was a pleasure seeing such talent out there applying for these important positions, and privileged to get to be on that committee. And the Vice Mayor said they were all very close, within points of each other.
One other thing about the 2 of them, they had both applied for the Measure C committee and had been ranked very high in that process too.
Any cards?
I have no cards.
Like to speak to this, 7A?
Are there the applicants here?
I'm just here.
Did they want to come forward and say anything? I know when we went to interview you, you don't have to, for the Measure C committee, I think you were you were embargoed in Chico because of a
Yes, I was.
eye surgery, I
I
think.
tore my retina, and so I was down below. You can't go above 500 feet if you have this gas in your eye after a retina surgery. So I was stuck in a hotel for 2.5 weeks down in the valley. So that was rather unfortunate.
Welcome back. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Again, Ray Groom, I appreciate your appointment, and to serve you well. I've had a lot of experience. I've sat on several boards, both one of them a federal appointed board, and state boards and county. I can use those to help the city achieve your goals. So looking forward to serving, and thank you very much.
You.
coming up here, I worked as a city finance director south of Fresno in a couple communities, and it was fun, and I enjoyed my time there and learned lots about what you folks do. So I was glad that I was asked to apply for this one since I didn't make the call committee. I thought about that very nicely, but I know I can bring things to the table for planning. And I do own a tax business here, so I'm kind of retired, so, well, right now, so. But anyway, I appreciate your faith in me and look forward to the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering to serve your community.
All right, any motions?
I'll move approval of the elected nominees, Planning Commission.
I'll second.
And the roll call, Vice Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Lauder,
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings,
Aye.
Mayor Boland.
Aye. I too would like to thank you both for your willingness to serve on that. Sometimes it's a thankless job and a lot of hours, but thank you for stepping up and doing that. Really appreciate it. And for Jody and John and their time to go through that. Thank you. I know it's a tough process. It's hard to pick, but thank you for your time. 7B, we'll move on. Consider acknowledging the receipt of the 2014-15 and 2015-16 budget update. Approved and recommended by Measure C, Citizens Oversight Committee.
Okay, Gina will give the major portion of this budget update.
Our switch work? Joanna,
We'll try this again. Good evening.
How's that?
light switch work?
Oh, the lights.
First, we'll just reiterate where we are.
Yes, no, yes. no. There. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Gina.
Thank you. So first, we'll just reiterate where we are from a fiscal standpoint. We've certainly made a lot of progress the last, the last couple years in, excuse me, recovering from the recession. Pardon me.
Let me know if you want me to take over, Gina, on that. Would someone please get Gina some water?
Dina got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina's had this respiratory thing the past couple of weeks and has lost her voice a little bit.
I lost my voice for a moment, excuse me. So we've made a lot of progress. We are currently still graded about a C- in terms of our financial stability. We are addressing currently short-term and doing well in the short term, but are still needing to address some of our longer-term issues to be really financially stable and healthy. A couple of the things that we are doing well and that we've made progress on in this current fiscal year is building back some key reserves and some short-term cash spending. So that's been great. And then we're really excited, and we'll talk more about this as part of our budget process and budget adoption. But for 2015-16, we're really going to be starting to address some of our longer-term financial stability issues. Again, rebuilding some reserves, dealing with some asset management and maintenance, reducing some of our fixed assets as compared to overall operations budget. So really doing some good and exciting things for 2015-16 that we'll share with you more in next year's budget. For this current fiscal year, again, good news. At mid-year, there was certainly improvement, and again, as we continue down the current fiscal year, we've received an unexpected settlement from Office Depot of a little over $12,000. And then specifically related to Measure C, we found out that the State Board of Equalization will actually be charging us a little bit less than we had originally anticipated for setting up the temporary transaction and use tax. So that will provide some savings to Measure C funds specifically that we're very excited about. So then, looking at the general fund summary, a snapshot of that, this is kind of a crazy graph, please excuse, but I was trying to illustrate some of these key numbers. So the green that you see is really an illustration of Measure C in particular. So for this current fiscal year, we're still expecting to receive about $200,000. However, the expenses related to that are much less, so we'll be able to set aside more for Measure C for next fiscal year. That's very exciting. And then again, of particular interest and very exciting is that by the end of this fiscal year, we're expected to have an unassigned reserve of about $390,000. So that's still far short of where we really should be and what would be healthy for our town budget. But it's certainly progress, a lot of progress compared to where we were even at the beginning of this fiscal year. So very good news. For the 2015-16 budget process, things are going very well. We, as of the time period that we had closed this particular agenda summary, we were still looking for about $12,000 to cure the general fund deficit. However, as of this date, we have found that we have a balanced general fund budget, and we will be sharing that proposed budget next Monday. Council will receive a copy of the full general fund and all of the operating fund budgets to review, and then we will seek approval of that budget either June 29th or June 30th, depending on what works best for council. We have met with our Measure C Citizens Oversight Committee on 3 different occasions. They're a wonderful committee, very diligent, very considerate of the information that we provided to them. We shared with them town council's priorities for 2015-16 and also all of the departments' critical needs that they really needed for operating their budgets next fiscal year. And in addition to that, so on this most recent meeting on May 26th, they actually put together their recommendations, which are included in your packet for council's considerations for approval for the Measure C budget. So they include roughly an outline that we had expected, where 32% of that would be used for fire, 36% for police, 23% for street and roads. So again, much in line with council's priorities and department needs. This specifically is the recommendations that you have all have included in your packets. But again, you can see the related dollars for animal control, police and fire, and then for public works, etc. So again, Measure C oversight, I really appreciate the hard work that they did. What they provided will be very helpful in the operations of police, fire, and public works. The proposed set-aside reserve will be very helpful for a couple ways that I see as your financial person. I think it's going to be important for us. We have a lot of estimates included in the Measure C budget, so that will be helpful in terms of a contingency in case any of the expected expenses are either a little more or a little less. It also provides us an opportunity to fund any future needs of Measure C, that we can set that aside and fund some things in the future with that money. And also on a temporary basis, it can help our TRAN requirements for next year. So I hope that that information was helpful, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Question, Gina. I have a couple questions, actually. The annual estimated revenue for Measure C is about $800,000.
That's correct.
The estimated actual budget numbers for 14-15 show assigned for Measure C reserve of $189,000.
Right.
What happened to that?
So that's going to roll forward. So Measure C, rather than running July 1st through June 30th for 6 years, actually started April 1st. So what we're proposing to do is to set that short amount aside, that shortfall.
At 189 plus the 26,000 that the committee is recommending?
Exactly.
So we'll have almost 200,000 in reserve?
Correct. As of 15-16, that's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Other questions? Cards
No cards.
to this? Does anyone in the audience like to ask questions, or? None? Bring it back to council.
I think we need to acknowledge, I'll make the motion that we acknowledge the receipt of the budget update and recommendations of the Measure C.
I think that we're looking
At-
for approval of Measure C, so
Approval
we
of-
can put it in the budget and include it in the budget.
So at this point, are we going to have any discussion of the Measure C
We can do that.
recommendations? Or is this going to be the last opportunity we have to talk about that?
Well, I think that we are looking for an approval of the Measure C recommendation, so you can adopt it in your budget. We can put it in your budget before we send it out, but you can discuss it tonight, obviously, or also along with our budget
We
on
have
the
two
29th
opportunities
of
tonight
August.
in budget
Sure.
approval to discuss it. What they're looking for is the approval to move it into the budget at this point.
I just want to make sure we're clear, and this is not the last opportunity we have to discuss that.
Do we have any discussion, or?
So I'll move approval of we acknowledge the receipt of the 2014-15 and a 2015-16 budget update, and approve putting the recommendations in the budget.
Before we vote on that, I'm interested in how the other council members feel about the priorities as set forth by the Measure C committee. I'd like to have a little feel for that before we go into the budget discussion.
That's fine. That was
For-
what I was trying to get out.
For me personally, I think they did a really good job, and the budget they're recommending reflects the priorities that I have as a council person. And I also really like that we're going to have a substantial amount in the reserve going into the year, because we really don't know what's going to happen. And as we decide we might want to spend that money, I'm looking forward to getting the committee's recommendation on that as well.
Overall, I feel like it's frugal to watch Measure C for the first year and not to get out there thinking that we got all this money to spend. I think some areas could have received a little more funding for different. This is the first year of a 6-year program, and I feel that being frugal for the proper.
I agree, and I know that the staff and the Measure C committee was aware of what the council had established as their priorities, and I'm glad to see it's tough when there's a lot of things that you need to do. What's the ones that can get the best bang for a buck? And I was glad to see we put a pretty substantial amount into the reserve, and it's important to remember that money is still available to be spent on the things that we want to spend it on, but it's prudent to have a reserve, and it does help us in the TRAN, which is where we have to spend money. We borrow money for cash flow purposes, and so having that money is really important, and I hope that if things turn around as we have the budget, if more money's coming in, I hope we can just hold that in the reserve so that we'll still get to spend it. It'll still go, be prioritized, kind of percentage-wise, the way that we want to see it spent. The Measure C committee wants to see it spent the way the community wants to see it spent. Not like the money's going to go away, but I think if we do see higher than anticipated revenues, that's important to put that in the reserve and not lay on it to find things that we need to, that are critical, that we need to do.
We'll always have needs in projects and roads and needs in every department, you know, police, fire, roads, animal control. So it will be nice to have some money to put towards those needs as they come up.
But I think it's good to be, like John said, frugal, conservative on our, how we're doing it until we know.
We've not been in this position for a long time.
Right.
This is great. Thank you.
Answer Jody's question. I appreciate their thoughtfulness in breaking it down. I think it was very well thought out. For me, the reserves are big. I don't want a 6-year program. I want something that lasts beyond the 6 years. We have an 8 to 10 year program. If we do this right, it can have a long life. So I think for the first one, I like it. And to answer your question, I think it was very thoughtful. So, all right, we have a motion and a second. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the vote, Vice Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Lauder,
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings,
Aye.
Mayor Boland.
Aye. Okay, 7C, consider acknowledging receipt of the 2014 annual report of the Paradise Planning Commission regarding the progress towards implementing the 1994 Paradise General Plan housing element.
And I think that Craig Baker, our Community Development Director, will address the next two items. Craig?
Thank you, Manager Gill. As our mayor's just explained, this report has been placed on your agenda for your acceptance. It is a report that's required by the California Government Code, and it's an attempt by the state of California to assure that local jurisdictions are making a genuine attempt to provide our fair share of regional housing needs. This report was presented to the Planning Commission during their May 19th meeting. They held a public discussion regarding the report and voted unanimously to refer it to you, making no changes to the report. If you do accept this report as it stands, then it'll be submitted to the Department of Housing and Community Development and to the Office of Planning and Research, which is, again, required by the California Government Code. The report contains an accounting of the housing starts over the planning period, which for this last housing element was 2009 to 2014. So this will be the last report for our old housing element. The report also contains an outline of a number of programs that are designed to promote the provision of housing across several different income brackets. So what we're asking for you or of you tonight is to acknowledge receipt of this report so we can forward it to the state of California. This report is separate from the next agenda item because the state of California provides a specific, very specific format for this report. The next agenda item is for the remaining 7 elements in our general plan.
And the housing starts, Craig, are up this
The housing
year?
starts are down from last year, but that's primarily because, or the year before, that's primarily because of Paradise Community Village. We had 13 new starts. Your report says 11. Going through the report, I'm pretty sure it's 13. Next year should be better. We have 26 starts in one project alone, along with other single-family housing or single-family dwelling starts and some garage conversions and so on.
That's the Pheasant Ridge Commons?
Right. So Pheasant Ridge Commons is 26 units.
And that's
Based on calendar year, correct?
That's correct. That is correct. So
and
this
those are qualifying in the low mod.
They're probably not.
They're not.
They're probably not.
I don't think so.
They're probably more likely to be in the affordable to above moderate income households, which is still a bracket that we're supposed to be able to fill. It's just more difficult to fill the low and very low income bracket housing requirements. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Questions? None from the council. Any cards?
No cards?
Anybody like to speak to this? Nobody jump to their feet. Bring it back to council.
Move approval of item 7C as presented.
Second.
And the roll call, Vice Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Lauder,
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings,
Aye.
and Mayor Boland.
Aye. 7D.
Greg, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I've just alluded to, this report is again an annual report required by the state. This is for the remaining 7 elements in the general plan. It's a format that we use, that we've developed ourselves. It's the same format we've used for years. The state doesn't require you to use a specific format. Again, our general plan is from 1994. It's, for the most part, implemented with very few exceptions. You'll see that some of the changes in this year's report, or the changes in this year's report, are indicated by shaded text. And I'll say that I think we owe most of the additional implementation for the 2014 calendar year to the public works projects that we've been able to not only secure funding for, but complete. So that's been very, very helpful to us. And again, all that we're asking this evening of you is to acknowledge receipt of this report so we can forward it to the state.
Move approval of the recommendation.
Second.
And the roll call, Vice Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Lauder,
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings,
Aye.
and Mayor Boland.
Aye. I didn't give it any, was there no cards?
No cards.
Okay. Assume nobody was going to jump to their feet on that one either. Bad assumption, maybe. Okay, 7E, we're moving right along. Consider awarding contract number 15-03, Stearns to Mill Paving Restoration Project to Knife River Construction of Chico.
Mark Maddox, our town engineer, will update the council on this project.
Thank you, Manager Gill. Good evening, Council. And tonight is the award of a contract for our Stearns to Mill Pavement Restoration Project. And this project originated through an encroachment permit which was executed by Pacific Gas and Electric. They had a gas main replacement project in January of 2014, which was completed in July of 2014 as well. But in October, we found out that PG&E informed the town of Paradise that the main replacements completed early in the year were in need of immediate replacement out of an abundance of caution due to laboratory test results on the materials installed. So with that, the proposition of a second construction interval on our fragile town roads, PG&E offered a allocation of $218,000 for a complete street overlay in lieu of requiring them to complete final trench restoration and backfill, or actually they still do the backfill, but no final pavement restoration. So we reached an agreement with that process, and this agreement was ratified by Town Council on December 9th. And with the prospect of a complete street overlay, we have been coordinating with Paradise Irrigation District, who has reprioritized their projects because they have an opportunity to get in before this overlay is applied and get their utility repairs and leaks repaired before we overlay the street. So on April 14th, Council approved the plan, specifications, and estimates and authorized the Public Works Department to issue bids for the subject project. On May 28th, we received 3 bids, and they were publicly opened here at Town Hall. And our low bidder was Knife River Construction of Chico, California, in the amount of $207,900. Sorry, the sevens were mixing me up. Anyhow, the engineer's estimate was $218,000. And per the contract specifications, we are required to award to the lowest responsible bidder. And we have deemed Knife River's bid package complete and recommend a council award of the contract to Knife River Construction. If awarded, we would approve the agreement this month and follow up with construction in September after PID has completed all of their project repairs. And the financial impact to the town of Paradise is $218,000 will come from PG&E for the project construction and a portion of the construction contingency. We are recommending supplementing the contingency 10% of the contract amount with local gas tax dollars as an as-needed basis. We don't anticipate any extra change orders, but in the event there's a construction condition that wasn't anticipated in the design or there's a pavement failure, we may need to have additional funds to issue a change order for that contractor. So with that, I will thank you for your time and open up to any questions.
What's PID's? Practice that afterwards.
Yeah, I can't, did I say it correctly?
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
You
it
said
just-
twice correctly. But
All right.
It sounded wrong, didn't it?
Yes.
PID, what's their time frame?
They're looking at mid to late August, so it's going to be right up there on the edge, and
So
they're
it gives
working hard.
Knife enough time to do it, though.
What's that?
Knife River still has enough time.
Yes, their contract, the bid specifications require them to start work no earlier than September 15th unless mutual for everyone involved. So we require them to wait. Yep. Thank you.
Questions? Any cards?
No cards.
Anybody like to speak? Okay, seeing none, bring it back to council.
Move that contract number 1503 be awarded to Clinton and
Second.
And the roll call, Vice Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Lauder,
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings,
aye.
Mayor Boland.
Aye. Okay, 7F. Consider approving the job description and salary scale for lead mechanic position.
Thank you. Before Mark Maddox, our town engineer, gives the council an analysis of this item, I just want to say that staff did an amazing job of doing a very detailed and comprehensive analysis of of which option we should go with. And I know that he worked well with the police chief and the fire chief to see what would best work for our needs as far as not only for fire equipment, our police vehicles, our public works vehicles, and also our heavy equipment. And so, Mark Maddox, would you like to give your analysis?
Sure thing. Thank you, Manager Gill. Again, the Town of Paradise owns 87 total fleet items serving Paradise Police Department, CAL FIRE, Public Works, and all of our other departments. Our fleet is one of our most critical assets, especially to perform emergency services to our residents. The Town of Paradise historically has employed 1 to 2 maximum maintenance fleet mechanics in the fleet division, and we've had recently a fleet vacancy due to retirement. And this process allowed the Town of Paradise to undertake this complete analysis to evaluate options, whether or not the services should be contracted out externally, or we come up with a new kind of approach to fleet maintenance. So I'll break this down into 2 separate processes, although they did run concurrently. The first one would be the request for proposals process. We wanted to provide an opportunity for interested agencies, companies, private contractors to propose a solution for the Town of Paradise for an agreement to perform regular preventative maintenance for our fleet vehicles in addition to repairs. And so on May 6th, we issued a formal request for proposals to local contractors, private companies, Paradise Unified School District, Northern Recycling, CAL FIRE, Butte College, and a wide variety of firms, including 10 local contractors, hand-delivered and posted on our website. So we really wanted to get the word out and get interested parties to propose a solution that the Town of Paradise could move forward with. Understanding that being able to perform fleet maintenance services for all of the town's vehicles with the fire apparatus is a very unique niche for mechanic work. We identified 4 groups for potential proposers to submit on, including police fleet, fire apparatus fleet, public works, heavy equipment fleet, and the general fleet. By May 28th, we received 6 proposals, 4 from local private contractors, and 1 from Northern Recycling and Waste Services, and a second from CAL FIRE for 6 total. Evaluating which these proposals addressed as far as the fleet groups, there is not one which addresses all 4 of our fleet groups, which is tough because of the efficiencies that would have been gained having one contractor. Would have been really nice to see that cost savings. But with the multiple proposals for separate groups each, it would be a very difficult task to manage. But we did address that here in the staff report, looking at the feasibility and cost of these external contracts. One is that, again, we wouldn't be able to get that time savings. Having a one-stop shop in Paradise would have been a best-case scenario. And then 2, we asked these proposers to submit a cost schedule. And so I've provided that in the staff report, and we've evaluated and kind of provided a sample cost proposal from a contractor where the regular maintenance for the groups 1, 3, and 4, excluding the fire apparatus, would have been $34,000 for regular preventative maintenance. And because of the town's fleet being on an average 12 years and the police fleet averaging almost 100,000 miles each, we can safely assume that there will be about 600 hours a year at least for contract repairs. And a part of this proposal process required contractors to identify hourly rates. And we saw those hourly rates come in between $90 and $100 per hour. So if that 600 hours of repairs in addition to the $34,000 of regular maintenance, we could be looking at $54,000 just in labor for repairs. So through the analysis of contract costs, it was clear that the reduction in billable hours from a full-time employee would be offset completely by the increased hourly rate for the essential services needed. A couple of other notes on the RFP is NRWS's proposal was great, and we really appreciate them and all the contractors putting together these proposals. But again, with the after the full analysis, we're not recommending a compartmentalized solution where only Group 3, which is what NRWS selected to propose on, which is the Public Works Heavy Fleet. We're not recommending to only do that vehicle because we want to move forward as efficiently as possible if we do hire a internal candidate. CAL FIRE's proposal only addressed Group 2, and they were the lone proposal that did so, and they are currently at capacity with their fleet maintenance services, and that means that in order for them to take on our workload, they will need to hire an additional full-time employee. But they view, and we also view, that maintaining our 7 heavy fire apparatus is about a third of a full-time position or less. And so with that, the CAL FIRE was only able to provide an option for us to pay for a full-time employee, which would have been $9,892 per month. So the town's current budget for general fund fleet maintenance eliminates consideration of this option. So I guess I'll jump right into the lead mechanic recruitment process next. Is we did issue a job flyer and received 7 applications by the closing date of May 27th, and we held interviews and had really fantastic candidates. And we are pleased to inform council that we have found a very qualified and competent candidate who is ready to come on board with the town of Paradise and perform the fleet maintenance services in-house with the town for all of our fleet groupings. So
If this is approved
if
tonight.
this is approved. So with that, I'll move on to the financial impact. Just kind of wrap up the 2 alternatives is we looked at the external contracts using CAL FIRE because we had no other option, and in addition to selecting a private contractor to serve groups 1, 3, and 4. And we again estimated 600 hours of repair labor, $45,000 in parts, and then we estimated our full-time employee equivalent for a contracted solution because some oversight, some control of the work would have still been required. But as you can see in the report, based on this scenario with this type of needs on an annual basis, we'd see the external contract come in near $270,000 per year, where an in-house solution, because we already have the infrastructure to support it, and having an in-house solution will help us keep our costs down in a range of $133,000 just for this scenario to evaluate these 2 options. So after concluding numerous meetings, all the outreach, all of the public advertisements, and one-on-one conversations with contractors, companies, agencies, the town or staff would like to recommend to council to reject all bids for our fleet maintenance contract RFP that we issued, and subsequently approve of the job description and salary scale for the lead mechanic position. That was a lot, so if there's any questions, please ask. Thank you.
So looks like we have a candidate that can handle the heavy equipment
Yes.
and the big trucks and
Yes.
regular.
Yep,
fleet.
the candidate has a lot of experience in this type of work, and he's very proficient in heavy equipment and pumps, and brings some skills that would be very useful for the fire apparatus in addition to our general fleet.
And my other question was, in the past, when with Wes and prior to that, sometimes they seem to kind of get behind. You know, there's some fairly mundane things that they can have. Maybe use a local shop to do oil changes, and they'll have to do smogs and stuff. So, are we going to be able to do that? Use some local services. I like, you know, when we do that and save some money.
Definitely the local, especially, we really appreciate, again, the proposals we received, and we definitely will keep all of the local contacts on hand. One of the great things that came through this process was identification of a maintenance schedule included in the staff report, and we'll issue that because we do view maintenance and preventative maintenance and inspection as a great opportunity to find and make sure all of our emergency vehicles are running in their peak performance. But we do want to have a balance there where if there's something that comes up and needs to be contracted out, to do so at that time while staying on schedule with all of our maintenance needs, our preventative maintenance.
And in talking to Doug Spiker at Northern Recycling, they do that as well. There are some things that it just makes sense for them to take to local shops and not to take on themselves. So
Correct.
something we can consider, and I think the money is in the budget to do that.
Our candidate has looked at our tremendous shop and
Yes.
facilities.
Yes, they were actually the only candidate that asked, a part of the interview process, to view the shop.
Good.
And they saw it as a blank, you know, canvas, and really looking to get hands-on, clean it up, and perform well for the town.
Move on that, but
Yes.
it is what it is right now, so.
Still working on that one.
But good, he's okay with, I mean,
Yes.
he's okay working with that at this point.
Yes. Yep.
Well, I'd like to thank the staff for the intense study that went into all of this and the analysis. I'm very happy to say that that if we approve this, that the work will stay in-house, and that I feel that it offers a tangible that hasn't actually been mentioned in the report, but that is you have this town will maintain control of its maintenance program, its fleet maintenance. The town will have historical data that is stored in the computer banks, that a running history of each car's preventive maintenance schedule and each vehicle. And those will tell you things like when it's time to consider getting rid of a car because it's getting too expensive to upkeep. So I think the having one person responsible or one manager responsible is a tremendous asset, and it also allows to keep a close watch on things that that could come up and cause a problem, and if it is a town employee, we can deal with it through our own employee rather than having to go through one of 6 different contractors. So anyway.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do we have any cards to this?
No cards.
Anybody like to speak to this? Come on up and state your name.
Harold Hill from Hal Centerman Auto. And this person you're hiring to do this work on the fire engines, are they certified?
They do have some certifications, and they will be getting others as well that have currently expired, but he does have certifications.
You mentioned that your hourly rate you experienced was 90 to 100, because I submitted a proposal for 70 to work.
So I don't have your proposal here, but I do seem to remember there was quite a few issues with that proposal, and I'd be glad to meet with you one-on-one and discuss that further.
I received a proposal 3 days before it was due. I had no idea it was even out there. So you guys need to do something better about letting us know these things are out there so we can bid on them.
Okay.
Like, my experience far exceeds these other people. I've got lots of experience in fleet work.
Okay.
Caltrans, worked with her, lots of stuff.
Okay. It was formally advertised in the Post in addition to other routes, and I'm really sorry to hear that you didn't get it
I
until
know,
3 days
I heard it by
before.
word of mouth, so
Okay.
anyway.
So the question was, are the application, where staff has recommended the formal RFP process, we reject all bids, and we're asking council to consider alternate direction with filling the position in-house.
Consider somebody's been up here a long time. A lot of good shops up there.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to this? I'm going to bring it back to council.
I'll move approval of filling the mechanic position, job description as given.
Rejecting all bids.
And rejecting all bids, yes, thank you.
I'll second.
And the roll call vote, Vice Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Lauder,
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings,
Aye.
and Mayor Bowling.
Aye. Okay. On to council communications or reports from committees and commissions. Cody?
Well, the most exciting thing that I took part in this month was Lauren and I went and met with the city of Chico's mayor, their city manager, and some of their key staff to talk about a sewer for Paradise's commercial district. We got a pretty positive reception from them, and they've agreed to schedule a presentation for their full council in the month of August. We don't know which council meeting yet, but in the month of August. And Lauren and I are working on that presentation. So we'll have an opportunity to talk with the city of Chico and hopefully find out very shortly whether they're interested in partnering with us on the sewer project. And if they are, great, and if they're not, then we have a plan B. So that was very exciting. I've also participated in the negotiations with several of the employee organizations. I attended the AQMD and BCAG board meetings, which were pretty ministerial this month. There wasn't really anything much of interest. John and I did the Planning Commission interviews, and I went to the swearing in for the new police officer, Perry. But I've forgotten his last name.
Walters.
Walters, that's right. And last Thursday night was the first party in the park. It was kind of rainy that night, so there wasn't as many people as normal, but it was very nice. And for those of you who don't know, it started and it'll be again this Thursday night.
Well, let's see, I have lots of things. First of all, let me show, this is the new K-9
Nice.
fundraiser t-shirt available at the police department for $20.
Model it well.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
As long as I don't wash it, I think it'll still fit me. I might have to move up a size. Yes. Like the Vice Mayor, I attended the swearing in of our new officer, Barry Walters, and so that was good. And I saw him again last night. He was finishing up his shift. I went and did a ride along with one of our newer officers, Matt Gates, and interesting time because I hadn't ridden with him before, so that was good. And we saw the town manager driving up Skyway, but she was not exceeding the speed limit, so we couldn't stop her. I was tempted to. I was hoping there was a tail light out or something.
I was probably looking at the plants.
And she wasn't on her phone either, so there was really no reason to stop.
fun.
No fun. But speaking of the police department, in the thunderstorm on Thursday, one of my dogs got out, my German Shepherd, but decided to be scared of the thunder. She hadn't been before, and she jumped over the railing off of my deck a pretty good distance. And I'd gone looking for her, and we'd posted on Facebook and Cody Alert and stuff. And got one report of her being seen at 4 o'clock in the afternoon headed towards Skyway. And I live by Billy Park, and then the next morning I got a call at 7:30, at home from somebody who'd seen her by Jack in the Box. And then about 8 o'clock, somebody saw her by Dutch Brothers. And then at 8:45 by Bank of America. And then nothing. And then the thunder started up again around 3, so I'm in the downtown, and I get a phone call from Andrea, one of our dispatchers at the police department. She said, "We just had a German Shepherd walk in the front door that looks just like yours."
At the police station?
The dog turned herself in at the police station. Smart dog. Followed a lady. A lady was walking her
great.
dog, and she followed her in, followed her across the street and into the lobby of the police department and sat down, and I was there within a minute. So we were delighted to get her back, and I wanted to, again, thank the terrific, the police department and Jen Robbins and Animal Control, who I kept in touch with about it. There's lots of dogs that run off when there's thunder and lightning, so it's always keep an eye on your pets during that. Gosh, and the flagpole project is looking great. Anthony Lindsay's project.
Update on that?
And we have an update that he's on schedule, and we're going to dedicate it on Saturday, July 4th at 10 a.m. Hope I didn't steal somebody else's thunder there, but that's exciting. It looks great. And also our new planters in the downtown with all the drought-resistant, drought-tolerant plants look great. Saturday is Green Bag Day for those of you that do green bags. And then Thursday, I'll be in Sacramento for the League of Cities Policy Committee meeting and an update from on what's going on at the state. I'll be on the Public Safety Policy Committee and hearing some updates on what's going on with trying to fix Prop 47 mistakes that are hurting every city in the state, and updates on where they are with marijuana legislation. And then also there's annual conference registration has opened September 30th, October 2nd in San Jose. I know I'm planning on going. If you want to take advantage of the early bird registration, we want to do that now. And usually I share a room. We end up splitting the cost on a room with, like with Woody. I'll split the cost, and generally the town has paid the registration fee or half of the registration fee for the conference. Know whether you want to go, and then Colette can get us registered for the annual conference. Let's see, had a LAFCO meeting, not much exciting there. Chris Heston from the Giants pitched a no-hitter tonight. Wasn't a perfect game because he hit 3 guys, but
All recorded.
Oh, they beat the Mets 5-0. So, that's pretty exciting. So that's my report.
That was good. It's hard to beat that story with your dog.
I
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
that was
I was
fabulous.
excited.
But I
Nice
got a
story.
West Highland Terrier, and that very same night, my dog became frightened of the lightning. But she jumped up in my chair and got under my arm.
There you go.
She didn't go out in the weather looking for the police.
Smart dog. I think she smelled. She must have smelled Cash or Max there at the police department.
So anyway, they don't like lightning. Let me see, what else did I do today? Well, I attended the Planning Commission meeting on the 19th. That was the shortest Planning Commission meeting I think I ever attended, but it was useful, dealing with our 20-year plan. On the 25th, on Memorial Day, I represented our mayor I dedicated a Veterans Memorial wall at the Feather Canyon Senior Living Center. That went real well, except that they lost the plaque that I was supposed to read. So I just got up and talked a little bit about veterans, and I'm there with it. And we had a very nice dinner, and so the wall was looking beautiful, and the veterans were very happy. May the 28th, interviewed planning commission applicants along with the vice mayor. 29th, I'm invited to and attended a PASH meeting to hear Dr. Lewis speak about animal diseases that are communicable and be contact with animals. That was kind of interesting hearing a professional doctor talk about animal diseases, suggestions on things that we can do. On June the 4th, I attended the Butte County Public Health Department Food Safety Group meeting. I'm a community representative, they large, and so what we're doing there, we're trying to see these little play cards when you go into restaurants, the green ones, the yellow ones, and the red ones. The green ones, the yellow ones, and the red ones, and so we're looking for ways to get the information out to everybody to explain what each one of those means. In addition to that, they're coming up with a program to reward restaurants, and restaurants are usually in the level, and one of the large restaurants and the other one's a small restaurant. So all of that is in the works, and I suggested that they give us some of the brochures when they get them made up, and they're in the process now of making those up, and we could put them on our public counter here at the hall. So that's pretty good organization, and it is functioning to protect us against foodborne illnesses. The Employee Relations Policy Committee. I serve on the Policy Committee for Employee Relations, and on Thursday I will be going down there to that meeting and getting some information on what's happening in the field of employee relations.
Thank you. My dog's story is it just lives under the coffee table now. We don't know what's wrong with it, but anyway. Weird. Everything's been said in the negotiations and stuff with the labor groups and different things. It's all been busy, sounds like. Future agenda items. Anything for the future agenda that you guys like to have put on there?
Let's see,
No, we're past that, I'm sorry.
past that. Wow. Can I say it anyway? On the 4th of July, as Councilman Lauder informed you, that there will be the flag dedication here in front of our City Hall on the 4th of July at 10 a.m. Also, we're hoping on the 4th of July to dedicate a bench that will be donated to Memorial Hall. The town is donating a bench to the Memorial Hall, and that is slated for the 4th of July as well. We're going to have to change our time frame to coincide with the happening here, and there'll be more news on that. And the bench is the one that used to sit in front of City Hall, and the town decided that a better resting place for it to be would be at the VFW Memorial Hall, and I'm certainly in agreement with that. Listen for more.
All right, we have a request for a special meeting to adopt the budget.
Either the 29th or the 30th, whichever is the pleasure of the council. That's Monday or Tuesday. We like to have our budget approved by June 30th of each year. So it's cutting it close, but we did have a new process this year with the Measure C funds, so we made it, and we're very happy about that. And like Gina said, the budget will go out, was it Monday, Gina?
Monday the 29th or Tuesday the 30th.
Right.
What works for you guys?
Whether you want to get it done sooner than
Is it a 4
Well-
o'clock? Is it a morning meeting?
Our
afternoon?
council member Culleton likes to have the budget for a while, so we decided if the budget goes out Monday, that will give him quite a bit of time to review the budget, if we do it on the
Better than 2
29th or the
weeks, so.
30th.
How about the 15th? Was that mentioned? The 15th is going to be a preliminary meeting. That's a Monday on the 15th of June, and then the 29th would be the finalized meeting. That mentioned?
No, I think the 29th or the 30th would be adopting the budget.
Okay. Either one of those days would be fine.
So that would be a 6 o'clock meeting?
If that is what the council wishes, yes. It makes it so that people who work can come to the meetings if they're interested on that. And the other question would be, does the council want to adjourn this meeting to a date certain? Or would we like to just go ahead and advertise the meeting?
Pleasure.
I'll move we adjourn this meeting to the 29th, Monday the 29th o'clock meeting budget. How's that?
Second?
I'll second it.
And, all in favor, state aye.
I'm sorry?
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say no.
Okay,
So-
and that would be a 6 o'clock meeting here on
Right.
the 29th.
Right, and that's to approve the budget, the final budget for the town of Paradise, the 15-16.
Report on the progress on the project.
Anthony Lindsay could not be here this evening. He did leave for vacation, but he did leave me something that he did want me to read. Basically, if you have noticed out in front of Town Hall, we have a little construction work out there. Anthony Lindsay, which is Tony Lindsay's son. Tony is our building inspector, building official, fire marshal for the town of Paradise. Anthony, his son, has been doing an Eagle Scout project out in front of Town Hall. So that includes removing the old telephone pole, flag pole that we had, which was somewhat of an embarrassment for the town, and replacing it with a brand new, real live flagpole for our town hall, for our community. That is a great thing. It'll have a nice big new flag on it. It will. It's a very tall flagpole. It goes over the top of the building and over the trees out there. It will be lit up, which was also a concern of our flagpole, and we'll also have some nice landscaping out front. So Tony and his son and their group of Eagle Scouts are doing this all as this Eagle Scout project. And Anthony Lindsay is raising all the funds for this project himself. And so instead of just asking for donations, he is asking that if anyone has any work done around their home, whether it's yard work or errands or walking a dog, taking care of your dog in the thunderstorm, that he would he would be happy to do that for a donation towards his project. So please, we have the information on our website, on our Facebook page. If anyone knows of anyone who would like some work done, please hire Anthony Lindsay. I had him over my house this weekend doing some yard work, and he's just fabulous, and he appreciates the work. And also, as was mentioned this evening, we will have a public dedication of the flagpole on July 4th here at Town Hall at 10 a.m., and the Eagle Scouts will lead that dedication, and that will be just very nice for us. Very nice project. I have a couple other announcements I would like to make while I'm here. I do remember seeing you, Scott, in the police car now. I didn't realize it was you, but I did see the police car. And I was looking at the plants, actually, in the downtown, and they are surviving. They're surviving the heat and the drought. They are drought-tolerant and drought-resistant plants. They don't require a lot of water once they get established. And as everyone knows, this was part of a Rotary Downtown Beautification Project. Rotary started us off with donating some furniture and some planters in the triangle in the downtown, and PG&E then added to that and donated 36 planters and all the plants and all the dirt and all of the bark and everything to plant those, and so we have them planted now in our downtown. So we do have some greenery, some decorations in the downtown. Now, we did have some businesses step up to water these. They take a gallon 2 to 3 times a week. But because we have such extreme temperatures these last few days, and because they're brand new, we are requiring just a little more watering, a little more care during this time. But I did want to thank personally the following businesses that did step up to water the plants: A Stitch Above, Coffee's On, The Wine Room, Bobby's Boutique, Paradise Scrapbook, Dana Law Furniture, La Comida, Skyway Antique Mall, Treasures of Paradise, Second Time Around, My Girlfriend's Closet, Jim Brochures at our Trailhead Adventures, and Marty Nichols on our Planning Commission stepped up to adopt 4 of our little plants out there. And so that's just fabulous. And I do thank not only PG&E for the donations, I thank the businesses for watering, also Rotary for starting this with our Downtown Beautification Committee. So there's that. I also wanted to make an announcement about our gray water guidelines and requirements. They are on our website and on our Facebook page, and also available at Town Hall in case anyone wants to do a gray water system in the drought. It's not as easy as I thought it would be, but we do have to follow California state law when we do use gray water to water our landscaping. That option is available. That information, again, is on our website. Now, something very important, and Councilmember Lauder brought it up earlier, is the League of California Cities is having its annual conference in San Jose this year in September. And we are pleased to announce that the council did put in the budget $2,500 for this conference that the council can elect to go to. So we will pay the registration for the entire council. If there is a council person that cannot make it, we can use that for perhaps another conference that might come up, or they can donate that back to some of the other expenses that are required. Typically, our council will pay their own way for the most part, and we were able to budget a little money for that this year, which is fabulous, because as you know, maybe you don't know, and maybe I don't want to tell you, but typically all councils, their expenses and registration is paid. And because we've had such a hard time with our budget the past several years, the council pays their own way and their own expenses, and goes to the committee, to the conference, and represents us well. So we've really appreciated that. We have a great council and also donates a lot of money and time on so many other projects. So what I would like the council to do, if they would like, I know that Councilmember Culleton is not here, but we do need a voting delegate and 2 alternates appointed to vote for the town. So if you would like to do that, that's great. If we can wait on that. I don't know when the deadline is for the voting delegate, but we do.
It's usually in August, so we should be okay.
Okay, and then we can wait for Councilmember Culleton to come back, because I know he typically likes to do
And
that
I'm
as well.
pretty sure he'll be attending the conference. So.
Okay, and again, please let Colette know as soon as tomorrow, if you'd like, if you're attending, and we'll sign you up and pay that registration. Okay? And that's all for me.
We have a report from Community Development Director.
Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a brief report on several of the projects that we're working on currently. We have a commercial parcel map application that'll be considered by the Planning Commission next Tuesday for 4 parcels across from Ewald Court on Lower Clark. Verizon has submitted their building plans for a 100-foot tall monopine cell tower located at the extra storage facility near the intersection of Elliott and Skyway. The Pheasant Ridge Commons project that the manager alluded to a bit ago is progressing rapidly. That project is located at 9034 Skyway, which is in the vicinity of the Eagles Lodge. Environmental review is currently underway for 2 new drive-through restaurants and several commercial spaces on property that's currently occupied by the Optimo. That also includes an exterior remodel of the Optimo. The El Rancho Mexican restaurant on Clark Road across from Safeway just opened last week. And we are in the early stages of reviewing a proposal for a 6,700 square foot medical office building on property that's located right behind the Wells Fargo Bank, sort of vacant property down back behind Holiday Market. And that looks like that's going to be a very nice project. And that's all I have for the moment. Thank you very much.
That's kind of exciting. That's way more than you've had for several years.
Well,
So,
and to put the
cool.
icing on the cake, we're seeing some other projects that are beginning to gel that I'll hopefully be able to talk to you about in the next month or two.
Yeah, Tony Lindsay indicated he was quite busy doing
Yes.
of inspections around town. Perhaps next month we can get an update on where we are on some code enforcement. Have a number of properties, and on my ride along, I found a new one.
Very nice.
Well, a new number of properties, and gosh, owned by a guy that we already have some code enforcement issues with. So.
I'm working on some summaries of several of the ones that are that have been the most problematic, some for years, and I will forward those to Manager Gill, and she will presumably forward them to you.
This one is an abandoned house that's way off of Clark Road, probably half a mile back off of Clark Road, and has a number of properties there. But it's been it has an open well that's quite deep, that's not covered, and that's unsafe. It's and the Scotch broom and all the rest of the brush has grown up around there. There's lots of wood debris and stuff. Could really, and with the transient population likes that both houses are open, so people take shelter there, and there's been crime problems on both ends of either sides of the property for the people at the Paradise Pharmacy and the homes on the other side of it.
Well, please feel free to disclose the
I will-
location of
I
that.
will
to-
pass
Well,
it on to you.
In an email, yeah. We don't want to advertise, probably.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig. All right, we're going to move into closed session pursuant to the Government Code Section 54957.6. Thank you all for coming tonight.